Hey, welcome to the live stream. Right? See what's happening. Hey, one person watching. Let's see how it looks. I'm just going to check if the video is going.
In this video, I'll show you.
Nope, sorry, wrong video. Testing it out. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I will. Oh, there. Now I see people. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending. Hello. So, since hindi pa tayo nag-start, hindi pa officially to, I'll just greet the people who are online. Hi to Mia, to Anton, Patricia, Julia. Okay? Thank you. Hello to all of you. Hello. Sige, I will reply back. Hello, everyone. Okay, so also, diba? Christian, Denzel, and Janela, thank you for attending today's class. Okay, so yan, and I also see that you're already logging in to um, our slides. So this is the joint slides for our lesson 5. Okay, again, I apologize. Uh, I will try to. So Mr. Ortega is asking how long this is going to take. I will try to finish as soon as I can. If you need to leave before I end, then you can go. I will not penalize anyone for not attending. Okay? But your participation will count as extra credit. Okay? Um, How is the audio so far? Can anyone tell me if you're experiencing any lag or buffering or stuttering? Um, please write it out in the comments. Okay, good, great. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that loud and clear. Okay, so we will start in 1 minute. Great. So everyone can hear me. Ngiti naman daw. Thank you for trying to make me smile despite all of the technical difficulties sa hotel namin. So right now I am really far away. Like I'm about a 20-minute drive away from our hotel. May problema sila sa Wi-Fi ngayon. So I went to a co-working lab. Swerte ko nga because this is like 2 days old. Okay, so it's already 2 o'clock. So we can start the slides. Okay? Again, if people aren't able to, oh, my flight was good. Thank you. If people aren't able to attend, okay, I will still leave this video up so people can watch it later on. And if you have questions, you can still add your questions in the comments. The nice thing about the people who attend this class right now is you can ask questions live, and I can respond to them. Also, when you participate in the chat, that's going to count as participation in class. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. We can start the presentation now. Okay, so I will just start it. Okay, so again, we're talking about encoding data. We ended. Okay, I'm just going to go back to our last slide. We ended our discussion before the game talking about image representation. Okay, so image representation. Again, so we looked at this particular image, and we also looked at or we talked or discussed how these colors, these different colors, have particular values, and these values are in the form of R, G, and B. Okay, so RGB. So, for instance, this image of a tree. Okay, this image of a tree, if you look at it, this icon of a tree, if you look at it, it has green pixels. Okay, the green pixels have the value number sign 006837. Okay, and that means if you break it apart, the first 2 digits. Okay, hello to everyone. The first 2 digits are the values of the red. Okay, the red pixels or the red color components of your image. And then the second 2 values, the 6, 8, are the green color components. And the third set of values, the 3, 7, are the blue component of your RGB image. Now, like I said before, these for each 2 hexadecimal digits, 00 is a hexadecimal digit, 6 are 2 hexadecimal digits, 6 and 8 are 2 hexadecimal digits, and 3 and 7 are 2 hexadecimal digits. Those are equivalent to 1 byte. Okay, 1 byte of information. Meaning, again, for all 6 digits, you have 3 bytes of information. Okay, 3 bytes of information. So, 1 byte of information, again, is 8 bits. So, if you total it, 3 bytes of information is a 24-bit image. Okay, usually RGB images are 24-bit images. They only become higher, okay, if they have more than 8 bits per pixel, okay, or 8 bits per color component, or if you have what's known as an alpha value or an opacity value. Okay, is that clear? So opacity, again, if you have opacity or transparency value, if you have 0, 0 for the value, that means it's fully transparent, meaning all the colors behind the image will show through. Okay, and then if it's FF, which is at full intensity, it means it's fully opaque, which means pixels or colors that are behind the image will not show through. Okay, so that's our image. Now, if you look at this particular image, so this is currently a 24-bit image. We're assuming that it doesn't have, if we don't see value for alpha, we assume that it's fully opaque. Okay, so if there's an alpha value, instead of it being a 24-bit image, it's going to be a 32-bit image. Okay, it's going to be a 32-bit image. Why? Because the alpha value also has 8 bits of information. It's from a value from 0 to 255. Meaning it's 256 values. 2 to the 8th power is 256. Okay? 2 to the 8th power is 256. Okay? So, of course, I'm not going to ask you to compute a lot of this. Maybe I'll ask, maybe in the midterm, okay, I might ask you to compute 1 or 2 values of this. But for instance, some of the teachers might ask, how do you compute the file size of an uncompressed image? Okay, so the basic formula for it is you try to figure out how many pixels there are. Okay, how many pixels there are in the image. Okay, and then you try to multiply that by the number of bits per pixel. So again, how do you figure out the number of bits per pixel? Usually, if you have those hexadecimal digits, those 6 hexadecimal digits with a number sign at the start, it usually means that it's a 24-bit image. Okay? So 8 bits of red information, 8 bits of green information, and 8 bits of blue information. So you have 8 plus 8 plus 8 equals to 24. Okay? And then, after you've multiplied the total number of pixels, so let's say an image is 5 by 5, 5 pixels by 5 pixels, then it's 25 pixels. The total number of pixels is 25. And then you multiply that by the number of bits per pixel, okay, the number of bits per pixel. So let's say a 24-bit image, so 24 times 25, okay, 24 times 25, and what you get is about 600 bits of information. Okay? Then, you divide everything by 8 bits. So if you look at these examples, okay, if you look at these examples, for instance, the first one, as you can see, is 1,366 pixels wide. Okay, the width. Usually, when we talk about images in computers, it's usually the width and then the height. Okay, so 1,366 pixels wide by 768 pixels high by 32 bits. Why 32 bits? Okay, why 32 bits? Because it's using red, green, and blue. And then you also have an alpha, or you have transparency values. So you multiply all of those. Okay, so, sorry, 1,366 by 768 times 32. And then, okay, don't forget to divide it by 8. And you get the value 4,196,352 bytes. Okay, so this is of course uncompressed. We're not talking about compression yet. Okay, so this is the full size of an image. So this is not the size of a JPEG. This is not the size of a GIF. Those kinds of images are always compressed. Okay, those images are always compressed. Okay, hello to all. Oh, what do I mean? So someone's asking, what do I mean by alpha? Okay, so alpha, so I'll type it. So if anyone else asks later, alpha means transparency, or opacity, or transparency. Transparency, or opacity, transparency. 0 alpha is fully transparent, and FF alpha is fully opaque. Okay, so 0 is a value of 0 alpha, and FF is 255. Okay, so there. Now, the second example is a smaller image. Usually, that would be like a GIF file. Okay. Good afternoon. So that would be a GIF file. So 320 pixels by 240 pixels times 8 bits, meaning it has a limited palette. Okay? It has a limited palette, meaning it only has a maximum of 256 colors. And uncompressed, okay, it has about the size of, okay, it has about the size of 76,800 bytes. So again, just multiply 320 by 240 times 8, and then again, you divide that by 8. So 76,800. Again, the last one, if you look, so it only uses red, green, and blue. It doesn't have an alpha value. So it's 24 bits instead of 32. Okay? So that's how you compute the size, the file size of an uncompressed image on your computer. Okay? Now, why are we talking about images which are uncompressed? Okay, why uncompressed? Because you can apply different kinds of compression on an image. You can apply different kinds of compression on an image. Some types of compression work better than other types of compression. So for photographic images, for instance, okay, for photographic, so pictures that you take with your camera, JPEG, for instance, is a better compression system, okay, a better way of compression than, for instance, GIF, okay, or usually when you compress something using JPEG, if it's a picture, the file size will still be good, but it will be smaller compared to, let's say, if you save it as a TIFF file. Okay, if you save your image as a TIFF file. So, before we go to the different types of compression, I have a question. Okay. So, true or false, we divide the product of the width, the height, and the number of bits per pixel by 8 because there are 8 bits in a byte. Okay. So far, one person has answered. There. So let's look at the answers in a bit. So far it says there are 17 people. 1, 2, 3. I'm just counting the number of people who've answered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 15, 16, 16, 17, they're about, it says 17 or 18. So there are still some people who are showing up as viewer and then letters. So I guess you weren't able to sign up. So I'm just going to add one question here. Okay, please write your full name. Okay. If you already have your name there, okay, if you're logged in, you don't need to write your full name. Okay, but if you aren't logged in and it's showing up as, again, viewer so and so, then please write your full name so that I can give you credit for your participation in class. Okay? So how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, sige, let's see. Thank you everyone for participating. Let's see your answers for this one. So most people answered true, and then one person said false. Okay? So actually, the answer here, may mahabol pa? May mahabol pa ba? Okay, so the answer here, should I freeze the question? Sige, I won't freeze the question. If you want to continue to answer that. Okay, so the answer here is yes, it's true. Okay, so we divide everything by 8 because when you multiply the width and the height, you get the total number of pixels, and then when you multiply it by how many bits per pixel, then of course, okay, what you get is a value of bits, okay? But our standard way of measuring, okay, our standard way of measuring file sizes is always in bytes. Okay, so that's why we divide everything by 8. So if you know the number of bits and you divide the, the, the image in bits by 8, then you have the file size, right? The uncompressed file size. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Hello everyone. Oh, maraming tumatagdag. Okay, so continuing. So let's talk about, now let's proceed and talk about different types of compression. Wait, different types of compression. Loading. Okay. And let's talk about compression muna as, oh, I have a blank page. Sige. There's an actual blank page there. Sige, I will fix that later on. Okay, let's talk about image compression. So again, the similar to text compression, when we do image compression, we're trying to look for patterns. Okay, so the goal of image compression is really to reduce redundant or irrelevant image data. Okay, so this is a very simplified example. If you look at your screen, so this particular, let's say this one line of pixels, if these were just pixels, this one line of pixels is just composed of 4 different colors. Okay, so if you assign, let's say, a letter for each color, okay, then you wouldn't have to keep saying the color. So instead of FF0000, and then the next color would be FF9900, and then FF9900 again, and then FFFF00, FFFF00, FFFF00. Instead of having to say each color for every pixel, you could just say, okay, for the first color, it's repeated once. For the second color, it's repeated twice. For the third color, it's repeated 3 times. And then for the fourth color, it's repeated 4 times. Okay, so you essentially consumed much less space. You wouldn't have to keep repeating the color values over and over and over again. Okay, so this is done, this looking for a pattern or trying to reduce the number of information is done over a large scale, over an entire image. Okay, so this is a very basic example of some form of image compression. Okay, so there are 2 types. Okay, there are 2 types of compression. So the first one is what we call, sorry, my question, sir, is this similar to what we do during text compression? Yes, it's very similar. But again, so sige, I'll answer in the chat. Yes, it's similar, but there are different types of compression. There are different types of compression. Okay, so the one I showed earlier when we talked about text compression, that's a lossless type of compression. So again, the 2 types of compression, if you look at the slides, are lossless and lossy. Okay, so one is better for documents where data is important. Okay, you don't want the contents of that particular file to change. So documents, spreadsheets, you don't just want to change one number. Okay, you don't want to change the number of a spreadsheet. If by changing one number, you could change the entire value of what you were computing. Okay, so when the data, okay, the exact data should be written as is, should be saved as is. Okay, then you use what's known as lossless compression. So an example of lossless compression is zip compression. So when you use your Windows or your Mac um, archive utility, okay, your archiving utility, it usually makes use of the zip compression. Okay, the zip compression, sometimes it's called deflate, okay, is a lossless kind of compression. The only drawback with lossless compression is usually the file sizes. Okay, the file sizes of lossless compression are much small. No, sorry, not much smaller. They're bigger because they can compress. They can't compress as much as lossy compression. Okay, so they can compress the files only to a point. Okay, because compressing it any further and you would actually be throwing away information. Okay? You would actually be throwing away. So using lossless compressions, they've tried to find ways to keep all of the original data intact by trying to find patterns. So again, another example is LZW, which is a form of LZW. I think LZW is Lempel, Ziv, Welch. I think yun yung ano, those are the three computer scientists who developed the algorithm. Okay, LZW. So they a version of LZW is used in GIF compression and in ping compression. Later, when we talk about different image types in 170, when in introduction to multimedia systems, we'll talk about that. GIF and ping. It's not supposed to be called PNG. It's supposed to be called ping compression. That's what the original makers of that file type intended it to be called. Another example of lossless compression is FLAC. Okay, FLAC. So it's a lossless kind of audio compression. Okay. Hello everyone. Mga nadagdag. Sige, thank you for attending. Now, lossy compression. If you look at the image on the right, okay, the image on the right is a photo. It's a photo of flowers and I think like leaves. So these might be lilies or something. Anyway, so the photo, if you look at the top photo and the bottom photo, you'll see that the bottom photo actually, the bottom photo has lower quality. It has lower quality, and if you look at it, what the image says is the image with compression artifacts. Okay, so the image is actually being compressed. It's actually being compressed with JPEG. So someone is asking, sir, does Google Images use this? Google Images use compression. Any file usually that you can get online has some kind of compression. Again, if you have a GIF file that has compression, okay, an LZW, ping file also has compression. Okay, so those are image compression algorithms. Okay, JPEG is also a compression type, but it's a lossy one. Okay, now if you're asking if Google has its own, okay, so I'll just type it out. If you are asking if Google has its own compression algorithm, yes. Google developed the WebP format. Okay? So WebP combines both lossless and lossy. Okay? Lossless and lossy compression. Okay? So, lossy. So, lossy compression is best if you have, if you have data that you can change or you can um, remove some of the details without the human eye or the human ear noticing. Okay, so this is best used for media files. Why? Because in images, you probably won't identify like individual pixels that aren't the same color as the original. It would be very hard for you to determine like very small variations in the color of an image, or very small variations in the volume or the pitch of audio. Okay? Or if the movement of video isn't as smooth. You won't see those kinds of very small variations. Okay, another question. Sir, I just asked, what's the difference between a codec and a file format? Okay, because as far as I know, H.264 is a video codec, while the others mentioned in the slide are file formats. Uh, Actually, so H.264, yes, is a video codec. Okay? Um, the difference, for instance, the thing is, if you look at it, JPEG uses the JPEG algorithm. Okay? Uh, to compress. MP3 uses the MP3 algorithm to compress. H.264, okay, H.264 is the video codec for MP4. And I think, and mostly MP4. Sige, let's just leave it at that. But MP4 is also a container. Okay? It's a container. So the MP4 is a file format, yes. But it can contain uh, video content, video streams, audio streams, subtitles, and so when I say H.264, it's really it's the codec is a compression for only the video part of the MP4 file. Okay? Unlike JPEG is just picture information. MP3 is just audio information. When we talk about MP4s, for instance, MP4 has audio, it has video, it has subtitles. Pwedeng ipasok lahat yun eh. So you can put all of that information inside. And that's why I singled out H.264. Okay? Someone else is asking, are there also different levels of compression? Yes. For instance, JPEG, okay? JPEG, you can set the compression level of JPEG, for instance. Okay? The higher the amount of compression you use for JPEG, okay, the higher the amount of compression you use for JPEG, the lower the quality. Again, I'm showing you the image, okay? So the image on the right was saved with a higher compression level. Okay? Was saved with a higher compression level. Meaning, because the compression level was higher, more information is actually being thrown out. Okay? If you maximize the compression, you will notice a significant difference between how the original image looks and how the compressed image looks. Okay? So, if the higher your compression with lossy compression, the more noticeable the image loss will be. Okay? Even for audio, the higher the audio compression, the higher the level of compression you apply, the more you will notice a difference, okay? A difference in the audio or whatever kind of media file you're working on. Okay? I hope that was clear. Okay, so this is for, and this again, this just doesn't just apply to images. These types of compression will apply to pretty much anything. Like again, data files, your media files, different kinds of compression are used all the time. It really depends on where it's being applied. Okay, so since we're already talking about audio, since we're already talking about audio, let's talk about how we hear. Okay, so we're going back to science. Okay, how do we hear? Very basically, oh, sorry. Sige, tuloy ko lang to and I'll answer that next question. We hear sound because our eardrums sense the vibrations in the air. So sound is produced when something vibrates or shakes back and forth. These vibrations disturb the air around it, okay? And the vibrations travel through the air, okay? The air doesn't travel itself, okay? The air doesn't move back and forth, okay? The vibrations just go through the air, okay? And these waves ripple through the air until they reach our eardrums, and our eardrums feel the pressure. Okay, the varying amounts of pressure are interpreted as sound. Okay. So yeah, so someone is asking. So yan muna. I'll stop there and then I'll answer this question after compression, sir. Can the original file be retrieved again? Okay, so if you are using lossless compression, you can still retrieve the original file as is. Okay? Yes, it's possible with lossless compression. Okay? But if you're using lossy compression, if you keep saving the file with lossy compression, you are actually throwing away information more and more. So you're not going to be able to get the most accurate, the most accurate version of your image if you keep saving and saving and saving a JPEG. So if you save a JPEG and then you make an edit to it and then you save it again and then you make another edit to that and you save again, you are actually losing more and more information. You're losing more and more information from that file. You might not notice it though. Okay? You might not notice the loss of information because the loss is very minute. Okay? Parang there are certain variations na hindi natin madaling ma-detect. Okay? I hope that was able to answer the question. Okay? So, we're talking about sound. Okay, sound. So we're looking at different types of media already. So, when we talk about sound, there are two major components of sound. Okay, two major components of sound. So, the first is your sound pressure level. Sometimes it's referred to as amplitude or what we know as loudness or volume. Okay? So this is measured in decibels. So for instance, right now, while I'm talking to you, you are not seeing this, but on my monitor, I have a mixer, okay, which shows me the volume level of my voice. Okay? So if I'm being too loud, it's actually showing a red color. So my might cause, or the sounds around me might cause problems with your speakers. You might hear some popping or some other distortion in the sound when you listen to me. Okay? So if the decibels are too high, my mixer, my mic mixer shows me a red color. Okay? Um, so you can represent sound. Okay, you can represent sound as a wave. Again, as a wave, like a graph. If you look at it, or a graph, parang going up and down. So um, when you look at that waveform, okay, the height of the wave, okay, the height of the wave measures how loud it is. So the taller the wave, okay, from bottom to top, the louder the sound is. Okay, so that's your sound pressure level. The second component, okay, the second component of sound is frequency. Okay, the second component of sound is frequency. Yes, we'll talk about music in a bit. Okay, we'll look at music in a bit. Frequency. So frequency is also sometimes referred to as pitch. Okay? Pitch. So when we talk about frequency or pitch, this now is measured in hertz. Okay? Hertz is a cycle. So if you have a wave, okay, if you have a wave, like again, waves traveling. Okay? So if you have a wave going up and down, how do you know whether it's a high frequency or a low frequency? The closer the waves are together, from the top of one wave going to the bottom and back to the top of the next wave, that's one cycle. Okay? So from the top of one wave going down and then back up to the top of another wave, that is one cycle. So um, that is measured in hertz. The closer the tops of the waves are together, okay, the closer they are together, the higher the pitch. The wider apart they are, okay, the wider apart the tops of the waves are, okay, the deeper the pitch. Now, I am going to play a video, okay? I'm going to play a video where the volume of the the video is consistent. It doesn't change. The height of the wave is the same. Okay? But the frequency, okay? But the frequency of the wave will change. Okay? So I will not play the entire video. So this is a video on YouTube. I will share the video in our Moodle. Okay? The I'll share the video in our Moodle. I suggest you don't listen to the entire thing. Okay? I suggest you don't listen to the entire thing because you might, especially if you're using earphones or headphones, it might damage your hearing. Okay? So, I'm just going to preview the video. Okay? I'm going to just preview the video. Okay? Oh, sorry. Sorry, before we look at the video, there's a question. Okay. I have a question first. I forgot about this question. Okay. Let's put maybe like, give you guys what? Around 30 seconds to answer. And then I'll freeze the discussion again. Okay. I will freeze this. 1, 0. Okay, freezing the question. So when audio is sped up, its pitch becomes higher. So freezing the question. Okay, let's look at your answers. So most people answered yes, true. Okay. Um, and then there was one person who answered false. So when audio is sped up, okay, you make the waves closer to each other. When you speed it up, the waves become narrower. Okay? When it becomes narrower, the pitch actually becomes higher. Okay, I'll show you a video now. Okay, so the answer here is true. I'll show you a video now. Now, again, I don't suggest that you watch the entire video. I don't suggest that you watch this entire video because it goes through the entire range that humans can hear. Some of these frequencies you might not even be able to hear. I'm not able to hear all of the frequencies here, right? Especially the lower frequencies. So again, the height of the wave is pretty much consistent, but the closeness, how close the peaks of each wave are to each other, that determines the frequency. So the closer the waves are, okay, the closer the waves are, the higher the pitch, the farther they are apart, the deeper the pitch. Okay? So I'll play this. Again, part of it I don't hear actually. So this is the range from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, which is the average, okay, which is the average range that humans can hear. Beyond that range, other animals can hear that. Other creatures. Other creatures can hear that. So as you can see, right now the waves are far apart from each other. Okay, the waves are far apart from each other. Pretty much the same height. Okay? You might start hearing so now the waves are getting closer. See? As you can see, the waves are now closer to each other. And you can hear the pitch going higher and higher. I will stop this in once it reaches like the middle. Okay, stop it. Right? So it can, if you listen to the entire thing, it's actually quite annoying. Okay? Can't answer. Maybe if you want, you can answer here. Okay? You can, if you can't answer in the slides, you can try to answer here. Okay? So I can still count your participation. Okay? Yes, I know, masakit. Sorry. If it, if it hurt your ears. Is this applied to radio frequencies? Yeah. Yes, pretty much any wave this applies to like pretty much any wave concept. Okay. Yes, it applies. For those who were not able to answer in the slides, you can answer here in the chat. Okay. So, sorry again if it hurt your ears. As you saw, the closer the waves got to each other, the higher the pitch. Okay, the higher the pitch became. Okay, and as you saw, the height of the height of the waves didn't actually change. Okay, it didn't actually change. Okay, sige. Yes, I will read your answers. I will read your answers and I will count them when I try to compute for your extra credit. Okay? So again, if you look at it, the height of the wave didn't change pretty much. it's just the how close the waves are to each other. Okay? Yeah. Let's continue. Let's continue. Oops, sorry, not that one. Sorry, sorry. Didn't mean to. Okay. Now, so how now I will send you another video. I'll put it up on YouTube. We'll skip it here. Okay? I won't show the video. It's in my slides right now, but I won't show it because it's a little bit long. Okay, the video is a little long, and it's it, I'm going to explain some of it already. I will try to explain some of it already. It just does a really good job. That's why I still include that video. Does a really good job of explaining um, sampling and quantization. Okay, but I'll discuss it here as well. So how is sound recorded? How is sound recorded on your computer? Okay, so let's say you have a mic, any device that can record sound. So the way sound is recorded is it goes through two processes. Okay, two processes. The first one is what's known as sampling, and the second one is quantization. Okay, so sampling. What is sampling? So since sound is analog, okay, so again, we humans understand analog. Since sound is analog, it's one continuous thing. It's a continuous wave that reaches our ears. It has to be converted. Okay, it has to be converted into digital. It has to be converted into digital for the computer to understand it. And this is where sampling comes in. Okay, this is where sampling comes in. So what sampling does is it reduces a continuous signal like the sound wave, into discrete signals. Okay, so it's like, let's say you're watching a video. Let's say you're watching a video. At any point in the video, you could take a screenshot of the video, right? You could take a screenshot of the video, and that becomes one picture. Okay? Becomes one picture. If you want to take a lot of screenshots, so let's say you take a screenshot of a video every 5 seconds, then let's say if you have 1 minute of video, okay, you will have how many? Okay, so 60 seconds divided by 5, you would have 12. Okay, you would have 12 pictures, right? So that's sampling. It's basically taking a snapshot of a particular wave at a particular time. So it's taking a sample or a snapshot of, let's say, this sound. So if you look at the image on the left, it's an example of a wave. So the wave, what was done was, it was sampled at different points. How high is the wave at a particular point? Okay? How high is the wave at a particular point? Okay? Is this clear? So if you have something continuous, a wave for instance, and you take snapshots of that particular wave, where the wave is on the line, okay, that's sampling. Okay. Now, sampling. So sampling is we take discrete pictures, okay, or signals every second. So the sample rate is the number of discrete signals taken in a second. Okay, taken in a second. So when we sample sound, the reason why it sounds like it's a continuous thing is it's because we take so many samples in a second. Okay? The reason why it sounds like it's a continuous sound is because the standard for sampling is about 44,100 samples per second. Okay? So you take 44,100 different pictures of what the sound looks like at a certain point. Is this clear? Okay? Everyone got that? So, an example, 44,100. Okay? Thank you. Another standard is 48,000 hertz. Okay? 48,000 cycles per second. So that's why it sounds like it's complete, like it's continuous, because you can't distinguish, okay? You can't distinguish a note, okay, or different notes played one after the other, okay, for 44,100 times in a second. So it's like milli or nanoseconds, okay? You can barely distinguish one note from the other. Okay? So that's sampling. Okay, let's see. So let's continue with this. I will, next slide. Okay, this is something I made for my classes. Okay, so this is just to show you music played at different or recorded at different sampling rates. Music recorded at different sampling rates. I'll play it for you. I'll try to maximize the sound. So, I'll start with a low sampling rate. So, 8,000 hertz. 8,000 samples per second. Listen to it carefully. And look at the graph.
We've only just begun.
Okay. So this is the same piece of music, but sampled at a higher rate. So more samples per second. You might notice there's already a slight change in the sound.
We've only just begun.
Right? It sounds clearer. It sounds more complete. So this is at 22,050 hertz. You notice also, if you look at the graph, this is more complete. It has a fuller range. Okay, there's less parts of the. Listen to it first. So this is the original.
So many roads to choose. You start out walking and
Okay, so as you can see, it's more complete. You can hear more
we've
instruments.
only
It's clearer.
just begun.
Okay, so this is, it'll show a comparison of the different graphs.
We fly so many roads to choose. We start out walking and learn to run. We've only just begun.
I'll stop it here. If you look at the different graphs as the sampling rates become higher, okay, as you can see, more and more of the graph is filled, okay, of these wave forms. Okay, so again, I'll ask a question. Okay, I'll ask a question. If you can't answer on the slide itself, it's a true or false question. If you can't answer on the slide itself, you can, okay, you can answer. You can answer on our chat. You can answer in our chat. Okay, so I will check both our chat and our responses on the slides. So the question, true or false, sampling at a higher rate records less frequencies. Okay, records less frequencies. Okay, so I'll give you guys maybe like 30 more seconds, 30 seconds. Okay, let's see, 3 seconds left. Okay, so I will freeze the question again. I'll freeze it now. Let's look at people's answers. So one person said true, and most people said false. Also in the chat, a lot of people are saying false. Okay, a lot of people are saying false in the chat. Okay, so the answer here is yes, it's false. Okay, it's false. Sampling at a higher rate actually records more frequencies. Okay, why does it record more frequencies? Again, so when we say there are more frequency or there are higher frequencies, okay, so the waves are closer to each other. Okay, if you can take more samples per second, the more accurately you can draw out. So basically, you're taking like points, right? And then the way the computer assembles it when it turns it into sound is it connects the dots. Okay, so the more dots you have, okay, the more dots you have in the graph, the more accurate the sound is. Okay, the more accurate the waveform looks. Okay, so you are actually able to record more frequencies, especially if they're closer to each other. If the waves are closer to each other, if you have more samples, you can define or show that these are waves that are closer to each other. Instead of, if you didn't have that enough samples, well, I'll try to draw it when we're in class next time, maybe on Monday. Or maybe again, when you look at the video that I will post on our Moodle, okay? When I post the video on our Moodle, okay, you can see why having more samples actually, why having more samples actually uh, is able to record more frequencies. Okay? So, next. So, the second part, okay, the second part of um, the process that creates sound or saves or converts analog sound into digital sound is quantization. Okay, quantization. Okay, so basically quantization is a rounding off. Okay, a rounding off. So the value of each sample is rounded off to the nearest integer. Um, how many integers are there? Okay, how many levels, different levels are there? So how many different levels of like volume are possible? It really depends on the bit depth of the quantization that's being used. Okay, so these are, if you look at the graph on the left side, this is a graph of quantization. So if you look at it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 levels. 8 different levels. So 8 levels of um, possible values. So that's very coarse. That's not a very good number. Okay, so there are only 8 divisions. Now, if you have an 8-bit, okay, if you have an 8-bit quantization, okay, it's not just 8 levels, okay? It's 2 to the 8th power, which is 256 levels. Okay? So, okay, I'm just going to point this out. When we say 8-bit quantization, that's 2 to the 8th to the 8th power. 2 to the 8th power, 8th power. Sorry, number of levels, 256. Okay? So, if you have 16-bit quantization, you have 65,000 plus levels. And if you have 24-bit quantization, you have 16.78 million possible levels. So, different volume levels, basically. So, if you have a very low quantization or bit depth, it's very coarse. It's not going to look very smooth. Okay? But the higher and the higher your quantization is, okay, the higher and the higher your quantization is, the smoother and the more accurate as well your sound will be. Right? The more accurate the sound will be. Okay? Is this clear? Quantization, very important part of um, audio recording. So even if you have a lot of samples, if you have a low quantization or bit depth, okay, if you have a low bit depth value, it will still distort. Okay, it might still distort the sound of your recording. Okay? So we're almost done. We're almost done with our topic. Okay, so again, oh, someone is asking. Someone is asking. Uh, what chat? Okay, sir, what chat? Why can't I see myself answering in your live stream? Haha. So maybe you don't have a, maybe you need to log into uh, Gmail or YouTube account. Answer. Okay? Okay, so this is the video that I was saying earlier. I won't play it anymore. I will just upload it to our Moodle. Okay, I'll just upload it to our Moodle. It's quite long. It's a little long. I think about at least more than 10 minutes. Oh,
In this
it's about
video,
10 minutes. Sorry. So I won't show it anymore. Okay, I won't show it anymore. I will just put it up on our on our Moodle page. You can watch it on your own time. It does a very good job of explaining sampling and quantization. Okay. I hope you do watch it. It will it will explain these things very well some nice with some nice illustrations. Okay. What's the difference between sampling and quantization? So sampling takes discrete snapshots of the waveform at a particular time. Quantization takes that sample or snapshot and rounds it off to the nearest possible volume level or nearest possible level. Low quantization can distort sound. Low sampling rates can lose some frequencies. Some may not be recorded at all. Okay, so there. Okay, I will skip this video. Okay, let's continue. So, again, I might ask a question like this later on. Okay, so how do we compute uncompressed audio? Okay, how do we compute uncompressed audio? Again, so you get the sampling rate. Okay, the sampling rate. How many samples per second? Okay, how many samples per second are taken? The duration of the audio file in seconds. Okay, the duration of the audio file in seconds. Then the bit depth. Okay, you multiply all of those together, and then you multiply that by the number of channels. Okay, the number of channels meaning when we say channels, the sound has different. Let's say a mono channel is only, so when we say mono sound, it's only one channel. When we say stereo sound, it's two channels. Sometimes you'll see Dolby Digital Surround Sound, and then sometimes you'll see 5.1, which is converted to 6. It means, let's say you have a surround sound system in your home. If you have a surround sound system, it will play 6 different, slightly different sounds per speaker. So if you have 6 speakers, they're playing slightly different things. So you feel like it's really coming from all around you. Okay? So it's recorded with different mics, basically. Okay? So Dolby Digital has 6 channels, meaning there's 6 different sounds playing at the same time. Okay? And therefore, the more channels, the bigger the file. Okay? So again, if you look at this, if we look at these computations, you'll see that For instance, 44.1 kilohertz, okay, 44,100 times 60 seconds, so 60 seconds of like CD quality audio uh, recorded at 16 bits and using two channels, uncompressed, that's 10.5, 10.6 megabytes. Uncompressed, it's quite large for only 1 minute of audio. Okay? Um, a smaller file, okay, let's say you were doing a recording, let's say you're interviewing someone, actually 22.05 kilohertz is quite good already. You heard it earlier. So 30 seconds of that in mono, so let's say you're just using like your phone to record someone, that's probably going to be in mono. Okay, so it's going to be a smaller file, but if you're just like interviewing someone, even just your phone at 22 kilohertz, 22.05 kilohertz is quite good. And it will produce a small file. So for instance, this one, 30 seconds of 22.05 kilohertz at 16 bits and only one channel is about 1.3 megabytes. Okay? So this is again uncompressed. So if you use MP3, it can be much smaller. Okay? Sometimes you can fit like instead of just one file, you can fit like 8 or more files in the same amount of space if you use like MP3. Maybe even 10 files. Okay? And then the last one is again, just an example of Dolby Digital Surround. And then it's using a very high bit rate. Okay? So this is again using or computing the file size of uncompressed audio. So MP3 compression is still not applied. So if you apply MP3 or AAC or some other form of compression, you can still make these files much smaller. Okay? Clear? So again, we're looking at this because we don't know what compression the person is using. You can use lossless or lossy compression. Okay, we're almost done. I think, only one or two more slides. I think, no, maybe like 3 slides left. I have 3 slides left. So I'll just show you some videos. Okay, so I'll show you some short videos. And then I will let you guys go. Okay, so I'll start with this one. So let's talk about video now. So when we look at video, if you think about it, uh, video, a video stream is basically just a lot of pictures played one after the other. Okay, so I'll show you this video about the very basics of digital video.
We all love video, but what does all this stuff mean? Digital video is made up of a series of digital images displayed in rapid succession at a constant rate. These images are referred to as frames. We measure the rate at which frames are displayed in frames per second, FPS. Every frame has a width of W pixels and a height of H pixels. We say that the frame size is W by H. The H measurement determines whether the video is SD, HD, or Full HD. Encoding is the process the video undergoes from its original format to a format that allows it to be viewed on devices, shared, and downloaded. Encoding decreases the size of the video by using math to find opportunity to simplify the images. Different kinds of math processes result in different file formats. Quality of video is determined by the bit rate. Bit rate is the amount of pixel information in each frame of video. In general, the more bit rate you add, the more detailed and lively each frame of video will be. The bit rate value is a function of the variables FPS, W, H, and encoding. Bit rate expresses the size in bit, 1/8 byte, per second of video. MP4 and MOV are the two most common video file types. They can contain other relevant information related to the video, such as audio, subtitles, and still images. Happy watching!
Okay? So, okay, so we discussed video. Okay, so again, when like I mentioned earlier, it's really several pictures displayed at a quick rate. Okay, so the common frames per second. Okay, the common frames per second right now are what you'll find would be like 25. Okay, 25 for film, 24 or 25 for film, 29.97 or 30 for TV usually. 29.97 or 30 frames per second. So for every second, your eye is exposed to 30 pictures, okay, in rapid succession. And that's why it looks like it's moving so smoothly. Your eye thinks, okay, your eye sees each picture, okay, sees its picture as movement, because it's just played so quickly. So there 30 pictures are flashed before your eyes in 1 second. Okay? And that's why video becomes so big. Okay? That's why video becomes so big because for let's say, think about it, it's like they're playing 30 JPEGs in 1 second. What if it's an entire movie? What if it's an entire movie? Okay? So if you have an entire movie, let's say it's an hour long, or an hour is short actually. If it's 1 hour long, so 60 minutes, and then you multiply that by 60 seconds, and then each second you have 30 pictures or 30 frames per second. That's a big file, right? If it's not compressed. If it's not compressed, that's a really big file. Okay? So we're almost done. We're almost done with the live stream. Okay? Monday we'll start another topic. Okay, I'll stop this. One more video. Okay? And then I think I'm almost done. I think just this is just for feedback. One more video, last one.
Hey dudes! Welcome to Netflix How To! Today we're going to learn about subtitles and audio controls on Netflix. Let's rock! Subtitles are for the hearing impaired, for foreign language titles, or for your loud party guests who want to watch the new Dave Chappelle special. Before we jump in, it's important to note that different devices have slightly different ways of doing this. Visit help.netflix.com for more specific instructions for your device. Step 1. Select the title you want to watch. Step 2. Dudes, use the coasters! Step 3. Select the dialog box in the lower part of the time bar. Step 4. Select the subtitles you need and you're in business. As long as somebody doesn't throw the TV in the pool again. I'm looking at you, Brad. You can also alter the appearance of the subtitles. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Step 1. Log into your Netflix account and select subtitle appearance in the My Profile section. Step 2. Make the changes you want and see examples in the box above. I like this part because it makes me feel like an artist and stuff. Step 3. Once you're happy with your work, just click Save. Hey! Pizza's here! Someone get the door! You can also switch to your preferred language. This is especially helpful if English isn't your first language, or if you want to pull another sick prank on Chad. Step 1. Click the language link in the My Profile section of your account. Step 2. Select the appropriate language and click Save. Buongiorno, Chad. Step 3. Pace yourself. This is just good advice for life and Netflix.
Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay. Any questions? Any more questions? Let's look. One last thing. Okay, sir. Oh, it's raining. Here we go again. Anyway, oh, it's raining hard. Thank you. So of course, last slide is about feedback. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for attending the class. I hope you learned something um, important. Okay. I hope you. Thank you, sir. Take care. Thank you very much to all of you. So I already put the videos of um, the documentary that I wanted you to watch. I already put it on our Moodle. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you very much. So please watch it. Well, that's related mostly to our topic on operating systems. Okay? So it's the documentary is how the two major operating systems got their start basically. So how Windows and how Mac started. Okay? How the Apple OS and the Windows operating system got their start. Okay? So thank you. I really appreciate your nice comments. Okay? Um, so hopefully you learned something today. I will see you on Monday. Um, enjoy like the free days that are coming. Sige, see you guys. So I will save this and then I will post it for other people to watch. Okay. Save. I'll just be talking. I'll try to figure out how to save this. Uh, save. Thank you. Save it. Thank you all. Oh, maybe I should press stop stream. Okay. Stop streaming. Bye, guys. See you all next week.